Aloha, my name is Allison Hoff. Welcome to my World Music Cultures Final. I decided to do this final on a history of the LDS music. I thought what better to start this with than a quote found in Doctrine and Covenants 25:4, which says, "For my soul delighteth in the song of the heart, yea, the song of the righteous is a prayer unto me, and it shall be answered with a blessing upon their heads," from Doctrine and Covenants 25:12. I also thought what else would be a great way to start out other than what Brother Kammerer did in his Unit 1, to talk about the what, why, and how of music. What is LDS church music? You could either look at that, the broad sets that Brother Kammerer did, it's sound, noise, is anything that's sound or noise is music. Although with LDS church music, that's not quite the same. LDS church music, it is said by the General Music Committee that any music to be used in the LDS church needs to add to the reverence of a meeting. So it can't just be any kind of sound. Why is LDS church music? It's a prayer to God, like I said in the quote. It's a form of praise and worship. How is LDS church music? It's communicated through voice of choirs, congregations, or soloists, and through reverent instruments. Common instruments are usually chordophones, like the piano, the guitar, or the violin, and aerophones, usually like a pipe organ or a flute, and maybe sometimes a clarinet. Every once in a while, usually like in a Mormon tabernacle choir kind of setting, you'll see membranophones, but not very often in just a congregational hymn. Usually congregational hymns have very common rhythms. They aren't too hard. They usually don't go much past eighth notes, quarter notes, half notes, and whole notes. The melody usually goes the verse, chorus, verse, chorus, verse, chorus, like that. It's usually just very easy to pick up on. Usually people that can't even read music can sing it. Harmonies are also fairly simple in congregational hymns. They're usually thirds, fifths, or eighths, things like that. The hymn book began with an elect lady who I'm called. An elect lady, which is found in Doctrine and Covenants 25:4. Emma was born on July 10th, 1804 to Isaac and Elizabeth Lewis Hale. The Hales farmed near Harmony, Pennsylvania, and operated a country inn. Emma and Joseph Smith met when he boarded at the Father's Inn while working in this area. Her father, Isaac, bitterly opposed their courtship, but Joseph proposed to Emma, and she said, preferring him to all others she had met, she accepted, which I thought was cute. They were married at the home of Squire Thomas Tarbell in South Bainburg, New York, on January 18th, 1827. She had a very, very difficult life. Emma had amazing stamina. She lost 8 children during her life and saw one committed to an asylum, and she outlived her husband by many years. She was baptized on June 28, 1830, shortly after the church was organized. In July 1830, the Lord outlined her mission in a revelation. "Thou art an elect lady whom I have called." And he directed her to compile a book of hymns for the church. The first hymnal was not published until 5 years after that revelation, but Emma fulfilled her commission under very difficult circumstances. In April 1831, she gave birth to twins who lived for only 3 hours. She and her husband then adopted twins, one of whom died of exposure after the mob invaded her home where the Smiths were staying. Concerning the fact that it took 5 years to complete, E. Cecil McGavin reminds us that what a great woman Emma was. He said, "We have neglected to impress upon the minds of this generation how diligently she, Emma Smith, fulfilled this divine mission to which she was called. If Emma had been a woman of leisure, she could have complied with the request in a short time. However, she was very particular to the care of her family, being a housekeeper of immaculate cleanliness and allowing no outside duty to interfere with her devotion of her children and husband." When she finally did print it in August 1835, Emma's hymn book was entitled "A Collection of Sacred Hymns for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints." It was completed in the form of a vest pocket edition measuring 3 inches by 4.5 inches. Only words were included, with no music. A big part of this was William W. Phelps. In a meeting in the High Council held in Kirtland on September 14th, 1835, it was decided that Sister Emma Smith could proceed to make this selection of sacred hymns according to the revelation, and that President William W. Phelps would be appointed to revise and arrange them for the printing. From the beginning, the spirit of William Phelps was felt in the music of the church. Although many were adapted from other sects, he created 15 of his own hymns, which are still well known and in our hymn book today. Some of them include, Come all ye saints of Zion, If ye could hie unto Kolob, Joy to the world, Now let us rejoice, Praise to the man, Redeemer of Israel, and Spirit of God. The Spirit of God is very important to our church. Early printings of this hymn contain text only, so some ambiguity is left over what tomb this song was really sung to. But it was sung in the Kirtland Temple dedication in March 1836. Today, this magnificent hymn speaks to more than 13 million members in so many countries and 166 different languages. It has been sung by saints at every one of the 134 temple dedications in this dispensation. I do have here a clip of the Mormon Tabernacle Choir singing a portion of this song that I thought was important to hear. We'll talk about the Mormon Tabernacle Choir later.
We'll sing and we'll shout with the armies of heaven. Hosanna, Hosanna.
Alright, I'm going to stop it there. Okay, the next hymnal that was published was the U.S. European Hymnal. It was one of the most important hymnals of the church and was published in Manchester, England on March 1840 by Brigham Young, Parley P. Pratt, and John Taylor. It was entitled A Collection of Sacred Hymns for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Europe. It contained 271 hymns. These hymnals, number 3, 4, and 5, were the next ones to come along. The third one was called the Latter-day Saints Solemnly. It was published in 1889. It was designed to add an applicable tune or an acceptable tune to every hymn. So this is the first hymnal with music as well. Hymn number 4, or hymn book number 4, was the Songs of Zion, published in 1908. It was compiled by 9 mission presidents in the United States, and their goal was to add hymns that would help bring people closer to the gospel. The 5th one was published just a year later, the Deseret Sunday School Hymns, and it just added a few more hymns. The hymnals number 6, 7, and 8, and 9. During this time, it was when the General Music Committee was created, and their purpose is the adding direction in developing the music potential of the church and keeping it in harmony with the principle of the restored gospel. They had the task of creating the next hymnals and deciding what was and wasn't appropriate in church and things like that. I thought something was interesting in this very last hymnal that was published. The General Music Committee got 5,000 submissions of songs to look at. In these next hymnals, they blended a lot of British and American musical styles. They were all published. The sixth one was in 1927, the seventh in 1948, the eighth in 1950, and the ninth and final one that we have today, the Green Hymn Book, was published in 1985. It includes simple American hymns, appealing gospel songs, noble hymns sung by the early English saints, hymns borrowed from other religious traditions, unique LDS choir hymns of the late 1800s, and other hymns created by the saints. The next thing I want to talk about is some of the LDS groups. The Mormon Tabernacle Choir was founded in August 1847, 1 month after the Mormon pioneers entered the Salt Lake Valley. Since July 15, 1929, the choirs performed a weekly radio broadcast called Music in the Spoken Word, which is the longest-running continuous radio network broadcast in the world. The Mormon Tabernacle Choir sound is often said to be world-famous and instantly recognizable. The choir is made up of 360 volunteers who range in age from 25 to 60. They are accompanied by a volunteer orchestra of 110 musicians. President Ronald Reagan labeled the Mormon Tabernacle Choir as America's choir, and at his 1989 inauguration, President George H.W. Bush proclaimed it a national treasure. It's directed by Matt Wilberg, who used to be a professor of music at BYU, and he has many compositions, including what our BYU H concert choir will be singing on Saturday. We'll be singing a lot of his arrangements of music, or Christmas music. Other LDS singers that are well known are David Archuleta, who won second place in American Idol, Alex Boy, who was a lead singer in a European boy band and recently joined the Mormon Tabernacle Choir, Donny Osmond, Kenneth Cope, Hillary Weeks. Many of these are pop and country singers, which is a little bit different than what normal LDS music is, although they all still have the same kind of message. One little group that I really like that's an LDS group is called Voicemail. They're an a cappella men's group, which means that they don't sing with any instrumentals. They just sing just with their voices and harmonizing. I put together a little slideshow to show kind of who they are, just a part of one of their songs.
Be still, my soul, the Lord is on thy side. With patience bear thy cross of grief obey.
I hope you can see this.
Leave to thy God to order and provide. In every change ye faithful will remain. Be still, my soul, thy best, thy heavenly friend. Through thorny ways leads to a joyful end.
There's a lot more to that one, but in the interest of time, we're just going to keep going. One exception to the rule of the usual LDS sound is the composer Eric Whitacre, who's probably best known for his choral works. However, both his choral and instrumental styles use his signature, the Whitacre chords, they've come to be known as. The reason that he's so different is his harmonies are different than most LDS chord music. His notes are very dissonant instead of the common harmonizing of thirds and fifths that we have. His dynamic levels are also very different. He has extreme pianissimo and fortissimo, and his rhythm patterns are very difficult. I'm going to play a really quick YouTube video, and I'm going to shake my mouse when there's one part that I want you to hear with his rhythm patterns. there. Thank you so much for